right? So on that little blank spot on the bottom, all right, write your LO, and then tell me what you think enlightenment means. Purely based off of anything you know, right? Just purely off of it, what do you think enlightenment means? So write the LO, and then what you think enlightenment means. Okay, so Kayla's gonna share what she thought the word enlightenment means, all right, based off of what we learned last time and all the other new ideas we learned. Go ahead. Having knowledge or understanding, I like it, right? Because we kind of went over some new ideas last time, understanding new stuff. And then Alejandro, what did you say? Joy or entertainment, all right? Because we see the word light in there, so we thought maybe I get it. Back on the screen. Hold on. Alright, so our guiding question for today, we're going to be answering this by the end of class, is what were the philosophies of the Enlightenment leaders, okay? So we're going to learn about some new people, learn about what their ideas were, right? Because we started talking about the Renaissance, bringing up all these new ideas, we started questioning more and more, alright? So, I know it's really hard to see in this classroom, I wish we had our packets, but we don't have our packets. So, on this side, we have the Bill of Rights, stuff that is in our Constitution, right? So we have the women's right to vote, freedom of speech, all men are created equal, right to vote, and separation of powers, okay? And on this side, we have our Enlightenment ideas, okay? So all of these over here are our Enlightenment ideas. What we're gonna do, right, I'm gonna stand up here, I'm gonna tell you which one, and we're gonna match these ideas to stuff that's in our Constitution, right? Comparing these new ideas to stuff we have today, okay? So, for this one, I do not agree with a world you say, but will defend to the death your right to say it. So which one of these do we think goes with the first one? A woman's right to vote, freedom of speech, all men are created equal, D, the right to vote, or E, separation of powers? Alright, we're getting conflicting thoughts. So, on our whiteboards, A, B, C, or D, or E? Okay, so again, so on that first one again, I do not agree with a word you say, but I'll defend your right, or defend to the death your right to say it. Do you think it's A, the woman's right to vote, B, freedom of speech, C, all men are created equal, D, right to vote, or E, separation of powers? Alright, if you guys open up Canvas real quick, and then under Files, you will have the PowerPoint, it says Enlightenment. PowerPoint, so we can all see. Files. And then the first one, and then add the A, B, C, D, or E. Board up. Alright. So, for my folks that said E, so Ben, why did you pick E for the first one? Separation of powers. The quote, I do not agree with a word you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it. How's that separation of powers? There you go. All these are good thoughts. There you go. You also wrote E. Okay. Alright. Alright. Second quote. The people being subject to the laws ought to be their author. Is that a woman's right to vote, freedom of speech, all men are created equal, right to vote, or separation of powers? I'll read the quote again. The people being subject to the laws ought to be their author. And if you have the slides pulled up, you can pull up to where we're at. 16. Huh? Alright, board's up. Alright, so you got good. So, at your tables, turn and talk to the person that is on your right. Since you don't have anybody that's on your right, then find your closest person. Find your closest person, okay? And then discuss why you think your answer to that second quote, alright? Discuss what you said your answer was to that second quote, okay? Go. All those are good answers. All right, great discussion. So, Ish, why? Which one did you say for the second quote?
I said it was B.
You said D or B? D. Why?
I said B because since it says right to vote, it's subject to the laws.
Right. So Ish got there right by saying being subject to the laws, and then the right to vote, right? Because they get to speak about it, author it, right?
Yeah.
Good job. All right. Third one, read the third one, and then on your board, A, B, C, D, or E. Colors around. So I'm gonna monitor for your guys' comprehension, all right, of the Bill of Rights, okay? So read that third quote, and then write out which one of the Bill of Rights that we have, right, stuff that's in our Constitution, which one would that compare with? Right. Boards up. Alright, so whoever shared first, flip it. That other person goes first, then the other person. Make sense? So whoever went first in your pairs that you talked last time. Discuss why you said your answer was whatever it was. Alright? Go. Alright, so based off of some of the answers that I saw, I'm gonna adjust real quick. Alright, so we need to rethink on the Bill of Rights, right? Because it's been what? 9th grade when y'all did the Bill of Rights? Right? US history? Eighth grade. Oh, 8th grade. So, right, we have in our Bill of Rights the freedom of speech, all men are created equal, the right to vote, separation of powers, all that's in the first part of our Constitution. And then we have the women's right to vote, right? These just didn't come up from anywhere. We based it off of something else, right? So these Enlightenment ideas, right, lead us to what we have in our Constitution, okay? So that's what I wanted us to start thinking about while we're doing this, okay? All right, so fourth one, oh, everybody was kind of right on that one, right? So 8. All right, fourth one. Alright. Before we put our boards up, alright, person, I don't know, with the shortest hair, explain why you said your answer. Okay? And I'm gonna walk around and monitor y'all and hear what y'all talking about, alright? Go. monitoring, everybody pretty much got the right one, alright? It was right to vote, alright? And on this last one, I wanna hear everybody talking at your tables, alright? We're gonna discuss this last one all together. Pretty sure we can get there, alright? But talk at your tables of why it would be that one, okay? Go. Everybody be talking. You know how loud I can get it.
Why is someone
Alright, we're gonna come back in 5, 4, 3. Alright, so this one was obvious, this was the last one we had left, right? So C, right, all men are created equal, right? But even if we didn't have that, right, being all equal and independent, no one ought to harm another, right? It's right there for us, okay? So, come on, word. Alright, we got freedom of speech, right to vote, separation of powers, women's and equal. Alright, so the scientific revolution gave us a new world, alright, new ways of thinking. Okay, so alright, so this caused philosophy, so the scientific revolution we caused last time, alright? This caused philosophers to consider new ways to think about government, religion, education, economics. We talked about last time, right? The scientific revolution led to a huge advancements in science. But we didn't just stop there. These new ideas we covered in the Renaissance permeate through everything, alright? So, we can start using the scientific method in all aspects, alright? Nothing can be taken on faith, everything should be examined critically, right? The scientific method would help mankind discover new laws for human society. Once we know laws, it's possible for humans to create better societies, okay? So, if everyone can find this slide on theirs for me, I'm gonna get some of us to go up and underline, alright, the most powerful word in each idea, okay? So, I'm gonna give us like 6, do it on your computer first, that way I can come around and monitor, and then, alright, once you do that, I'm gonna call on some of y'all to come up and show everybody, okay? Thumbs up if we're understanding. Alright, cool. Let's go. What? Where at? That's the last one. I wanna make sure it's still okay.
we're gonna have to wait?
You can annotate on your screen. You should be able to. As I'm monitoring, right, some of us, right, are just a word that caught our eye, right? But what this is really asking for us, all right, is to think critically, productively struggle, all right? When I read that sentence, if I take this word out, that sentence doesn't mean as much anymore, right? So that's the word you're trying to find in here, is that this, without this word, this sentence wouldn't be as powerful, all right? So with that in mind, go back and look at it and see if your word that you already got is the same, okay? We're just gonna continue, all right? I'm gonna extend a little bit. Keep working. All right, so once you have your three, all right, I'm gonna start our timer again. We're probably gonna go for like maybe 30 seconds to a minute. All right, we'll do a minute. All right, so for a minute at your tables, talk about which word you came up with. All right, compare that to some of the others. All right, and see why that word would be the most important word. Okay, I'm gonna start our timer again and go. And we're discussing all three. Okay. okay? For the first one, all right, Kayla, what did you say? The first sentence before we go to the reason why.
Oh yeah, and what are they doing?
Let's go, guys. Let's look over our form. Let's kind of do our points, and then we can just kind of compare notes and just talk about it.
Okay. I have so many questions because like this is my first time going to a non-LSAE classroom, and so I just wonder how. Like, I could clearly see how there are points there.
Yes, sir. It's A152. Yes, sir. On alert.
Maximize the engage and deliver of the spot form, even though he didn't. But I don't see how he would have been on the right pacing.
So, okay. So, did you already do your points or no?
No.
Okay, do your points, and that way we can talk about it, and then we can kind of do the points, and we'll break it up just like on like the planning, engagement, and so on and so forth.
Okay. No. Okay. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. 6.
Steve is there, come back.
Okay.
It's really a far for me because I really shouldn't have given this, but I did because
Remember, we don't give. Teachers earn.
teachers earn something.
Yes, we don't give. They earn a score. Okay, so let's talk about planning. Okay.
Okay.
So there was an LO and a DOL on that little mobile whiteboard. Additionally,
Right.
it was also displayed in the presentation. It was annotated, right?
Right.
It was aligned.
It was.
And it was also measurable, right? So
Right.
that's good. So it's something that indeed is attainable by students.
Yes.
Okay.
And so he earned the points for, well, did he earn 2 points for you for that part or?
Yeah. No, just 1 point. I'm so sorry. Hello? Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
sorry. Yeah. 1. I'm sorry.
Oh, awesome. Yes. Can you send her here to Miss Lycia's area, please? Near A212. Do you have a student that could walk her over here? Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
You're right. He earned 1 point for me
So,
too because
yeah.
there was no higher order thinking.
Right. Nothing was scripted, especially didn't seem to be scripted. So there
Right.
was not that anticipation of, oh, you know, because he said it. Oh, the last time you saw the Bill of Rights was in 8th grade. So
Right.
but it was unclear if that was a realization of on that spot, like at that moment, maybe this is why students are struggling. And I say that because there was nothing to kind of guide them in the direction of, well, let me activate your prior knowledge because in
Right.
8th grade you were taught Bill of Rights and da da da. There was none of that. Like, so it would have been ideally, it would have been a great, like, oh, this is a mini lesson opportunity. Let me scaffold and activate prior knowledge of Bill of Rights. It would have been really, really quick. Okay, what are the Bill of Rights? How many bills? How many rights do we have?
Right.
Da, 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 da. What's the purpose
What do
of
you
the
know
document?
about the Bill of
Yeah,
Rights?
correct. And that would have been like a quick KWL. What you know, da da da, and then we could have. At that point, students would have had like a starting point versus
Go.
I don't remember what, or at least let's do ChatGPT. What is it like? You know, like something to, again, because they didn't have the background, they didn't.
And
have
they haven't
any
had it since 8th grade, so it's not like
so,
they'll remember
and he
in
knew.
10th.
So that would have been a great. Let me monitor and adjust. Let me scaffold.
Scaffolding.
Right? But anyhow, okay. So,
Or differentiating.
So for planning, I also put a 1 because I also didn't see higher order thinking questions or any scripted questions for comprehension. Okay, Let's go to engage and deliver. What are you thinking?
I gave him a 1.
No, he earned.
I'm sorry, he earned a 1. He could have earned a 2, but I felt like the instruction wasn't rigorous. There was no rigor in the instruction. It also wasn't grade level appropriate. It was just simple. Here's a question, answer a question A, B, C, D.
So it was low on blooms, right? It was
Yes.
more like recall or comprehension based. Yeah, I totally agree. When we provided some on the spot coaching, there were some attempts of, okay, let's have students think about, and I say think because, you know, in order to speak, students had to at least, you know, ponder the idea
Right.
of what was being asked. So there was an opportunity created there for them to think, to speak with one another as well as to listen. But my only inquiry is, was it understood by students? Okay, why am I doing this? You know
Okay.
what I mean? Okay, yes, we're turning and talking like I chose this answer because, but was there, oh, you chose E versus I
Okay.
chose D. Like, was there an understanding of why you may be right and maybe I could potentially be wrong? Because remember, we want to stretch that learning.
Right.
Because here's the thing, yes, there is a right or wrong answer. However, if you can present it in a way where you have an insight, I don't.
Right.
Because you chose whatever answer, if it differs, like you chose an answer. So it would have been great to kind of hear that opportunity, and not only that, but for him to confirm, oh, yes, it is B because of X, Y, and Z.
That's something I wrote down in the notes, because I noticed that when they did have different answers, he never clarified which answer was correct.
Correct. And that's the thing, I don't know either. but think about it. I mean, we learned about the Bill of Rights
Right.
in the past, and yet we don't have the certainty whether or not.
That's
Can
true.
you imagine students who, hopefully they had a great 8th grade teacher,
Right.
but if they did not, they too may be even more lost than you and I together, you
Right.
know? So those little details that matter. Yeah, so I definitely concur with everything. You know, I didn't see how, you know, students of different modalities were pulled into the learning. You know, there were no sentence stems or
No
visual
visuals.
representation to kind of, again, not only scaffold, but just kind of help them connect the dots. Like I said, there was some attempts to again create those opportunities for students to kind of collaborate. So there was a productive struggle, but I don't think it, based on the evidence, it wasn't thoroughly planned, because again, that MRS was a suggestion, right?
Right.
Which also takes us to the pacing. You know, timers were inconsistently used. And granted, technology mishaps happen all the time, right? We can't predict that. However, we should always be ready for what if my laptop just stops functioning or whatnot.
Right.
So you always should have a plan B, a C, maybe even a D, and so on and so forth. And I know he shared with us, well, you know, I just received this presentation this morning. So then my question then becomes, so that means you
You didn't effectively plan.
well, you couldn't have,
Because if you received it this morning,
which
how?
also means you didn't internalize, which
couldn't have.
also means that you did not perceive, oh, Bill of Rights, let me do a quick recap or activate prior knowledge about Bill of Rights. Just like, oh, what if the projector doesn't work? Why
There
not?
was no handout. There was nothing.
Correct. There was, but you see what I'm saying? Like, these things that, because here's what I know. You knew Friday before we left you didn't have a lesson, right?
That's true. And over the weekend, you could have
So-
looked and saw, okay, there's no lesson. Let me create one.
Right? Because it's not their fault that there's not, again, the readiness.
Right.
And that's what I wonder about. Are we just showing up and saying, okay, let's see what
Let's just-
happens? You know what I mean? So that's a concern, like a big one for me. So, okay, so what did he earn for engagement and deliver based on your notes?
Based on my notes, he earned 1 point, because the other
Same.
piece was, I wasn't sure. Yes, students were reading, writing, and even speaking, but they weren't. There was no real world content.
No, there was not.
They really weren't engaging with one another. So I just
Yes,
don't feel like hearing that
I
point.
also a 1 as well. Okay, monitor and adjust.
Once you spoke with him, I noticed that he did start monitoring, and he did look at student progress throughout the lesson. However, his sheet had nothing on it. So he was monitoring, but in his head, because I noticed that he would adjust, but again, he had the paper and he wasn't
See,
doing anything
I
with
always
it.
ask,
And no scaffold, no differentiation at all.
sorry. So yeah, I felt the same way because, again, a missed opportunity, right? Because I too saw it as just you did. Again, but it goes back to the root cause of all of this, because this lesson had a lot of potential.
It did.
Okay, it really, really did. I mean, kids always want to know. I don't want to say what we're entitled to, but pretty much.
You're right.
What exactly? Like, what are the basic things that we as human beings, being American citizens, residences, etc. What do we get?
And even like
So,
connecting that to real
that
world
would've been-
would have been
That,
boom, boom, boom,
that would have
boom.
been like the question could have been posed like, do you have the right to not wear your ID? You know.
Right.
Again, making that connection where again
Right.
this would have been a big time conversation starter with the rebels. Kids
Right.
love something
Right.
quote unquote. So yeah, just kind of there was. So yeah, for me, for monitor and adjusting, it was a 1. It was very clear going back to there was not any planning, any thought process behind what was delivered. It was just, let's do this. Okay, reinforce
Same
or
thing.
redirect. So for me, earned a 0, and the reason for that is I didn't see it done consistently.
Okay.
And again, yes, there was, okay, let me redirect, but then the students went back to what they were doing. So it wasn't effective, and then that makes me wonder, was it not effective because A, there's not a consistent redirection expectation? Is that not the norm of this class, or did it become the norm when we walked in and we addressed? So again, and granted, I've never visited, so I have no insight.
Me neither.
So, but again, it shouldn't matter
Right.
because it's a
And
campus, it's a
And
district. It should be,
a teacher is asking you to do
expectation.
something. The expectation is to do it.
yeah, correct.
And so-
However, if it's not usually the case, it's not.
It
know what
won't
I'm-
be done.
But you see how it just opens those thoughts and wonders. I don't know.
Does this happen like this all the time?
Correct.
He earned a 1 for me, but that's also because I noticed the positive reinforcements.
Yes, there was some praises for sure. I heard some of that too. The learning environment, so it was safe, it was inviting. I
Right.
didn't see anything that was, again, shocking
Crazy.
in any way or anything that would have me concerned about students. Students, there's a system and a process for how to use the restroom, and students knew, okay, it's my turn, so I can excuse myself, come back, and whomever was next kind of already knew, so that was understood. So that was great to see that there's a structure for
Right.
something. So, what about you for the learning environment?
He earned 2 points for me because the classroom was safe, respectful. It was nothing crazy in the room. And then for transitions and routines, I actually wrote students knew how to go to the restroom.
Yeah, so I was kind of back and forth with this one just because there was not a structure for the turn and talk. There was not a structure
That's
for
true.
show me your MRS response.
true.
So there was a structure for the restroom, but other than that,
The rest of the transitions in the
correct.
room.
So for me, he earned a 1 just because there was that little deviation on my end that wondered, because I really didn't see anything running for, okay, who's first, who's second, so it made me wonder, how do students really know? And granted, I'm sure there is, maybe we missed that, but I really don't know how they know,
You're
besides,
right.
are they just leaving? I don't know. So for me,
True.
the total was a 4. For you, what was the total?
6.
No, you have a 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay,
5.
so yeah, difference by 1. So yeah, we're pretty much calibrated because there's a difference by 1, and that's
5, yeah.
and that's pretty much very, very
Similar.
Yeah. What I'm going to do, I'm gonna clean up my notes, but I'm actually going to meet with him because there's, like I said,